Hi, I'm Michael. I'm a personal chef. Today I'm going to show you how to make pizza dough. Pizza dough is fairly easy and it tastes great. So right now we're going to start with the water mixture. We're going to bloom the instant yeast. So we have 5 grams of yeast and then we have 245 grams of water measured at 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's important that it's at that temperature. Then we're going to mix our yeast into it. We're going to take a whisk, just going to incorporate it fully. And then we're going to put that aside to bloom. So now it's time for the dry ingredients. So let's start by mixing the flour, followed by the sugar, and then finally the salt. Now we're going to give it a good whisk. So it's very important that we whisk to incorporate, otherwise we'll have an inconsistent dough. We're going to make a well, and then as you can see, our yeast and water mixture has started to bloom. We're going to give that another quick whisk. And then we're going to pour that into the well. We use our hands, and then we're going to mix. Don't be afraid, the dough is going to stick to your hands. It is very important to keep kneading as you want a nice, smooth, consistent dough. The way I'm kneading is I'm using the palms of my hands. It's very important to do that as you don't want to pinch the dough. So after about 7 minutes, your dough should be complete. So you'll know your dough is complete when it's smooth to touch. We are going to form it into a nice ball. We're going to put it into a well-oiled bowl and cover it with plastic wrap. Now what we're going to do is we're going to proof the dough at room temperature for 1 to 2 hours. So now that our dough has proofed for 2 hours, we're going to take it, we're going to portion it, and we're going to let it proof for an additional 30 minutes. We're going to gently take our dough and then bring it onto our workbench. And as you can see, our dough has doubled in size from what it was originally at. We're going to take our bench scraper, we're going to cut it in half, and then we're going to start forming it into balls. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do the envelope method. That's where you take the bottom side, and flip it, 2 sides. As you can see, this top is kind of like an envelope. We're going to fold that over, and we're going to tuck that in. We're going to do exactly the same thing we did before with forming the dough balls. And we're going to gently transfer that over onto our sheet pan, and we're going to get that covered. And we're going to repeat again with the other dough. It's important that it sits for at least half an hour to do the final proof before we end up portioning it and shaping it into a pizza dough. So it's very important that your peel is well floured. Instead of doing just plain flour, we're going to do a flour and cornmeal mixture. So it's equal parts and it's just put into a bowl. There doesn't need to be a specific weight, it's just equal amounts. Then we're going to give that a whisk. Our doughs have now proofed for 30 minutes, so now it's time to shape, form, and start dressing. We're going to dust down our workstation with a generous amount of that cornmeal flour mixture. Brush it again with more of the cornmeal flour. If it is a little too sticky, feel free to add some more cornmeal flour mixture. Now using our hands, we're going to slowly use gravity. So now that it's shaped, we're going to transfer it over to the peel. Cook your pizza for 8 minutes in your barbecue or oven preheated to 500 degrees Fahrenheit. So as you can see, this is an easy way of making delicious pizza at home.